The United States has urged its citizens to leave Iran immediately. The State Department has warned of a critical level of danger. In a statement published on the website of the U.S. Embassy in Iran, it is noted that Americans must arrange their own evacuation and should not rely on support from the U.S. government. According to the State Department, the situation in the country is rapidly deteriorating. Mass unrest is intensifying, authorities are blocking the internet, roads are being closed, and public transportation is being restricted. U.S. citizens who are unable to leave Iran are advised to find a safe shelter, avoid drawing attention to themselves, prepare supplies of water, food, and medicine, and have alternative means of communication due to the complete shutdown of the internet. Such emergency warnings and the evacuation of diplomats often precede a sharp escalation of conflicts or possible military intervention. Donald Trump announced the introduction of 25% tariffs against all countries cooperating with Iran. At the same time, according to the news agency Axios, the U.S. president is leaning toward launching a strike on Iran as punishment for the regime's killing of protesters. According to the Harana Group, at least 500 people may have died in Iran as a result of anti-government protests. The Human Rights Group, which is based in the U.S., provided this data, citing information received from activists both inside Iran and abroad. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky called on the world to take action to help Iranians hold those responsible for what Iran has become accountable. According to the Ukrainian leader, what's happening in Iran, the large-scale protests and essentially an uprising, is a clear signal that things will not get any easier in Russia. Every decent person on this planet sincerely wants the people of Iran to finally be freed from the current regime, which has brought so much harm to Ukraine and other countries. The High Representative for European Diplomacy, Kaja Kallas, officially declared her readiness to propose additional sanctions against Iran due to the government's harsh crackdown on protesters.
Despite its increasingly aggressive and hostile rhetoric toward the administration in Washington, Iran has nonetheless begun secret negotiations. In particular, the foreign minister of the Islamic Republic, Abbas Araghchi, contacted Steve Witkoff and asked him for a personal meeting. This was reported by Axios, citing two separate sources. Thus, Araghchi and Witkoff engaged in detailed discussions regarding the possibility of holding negotiations in the coming days this week. Trump himself publicly announced and confirmed that on January 10th, officials from Tehran proactively established contact with the White House, formally suggesting the initiation of further negotiations and discussions on the so-called nuclear deal. Trump said that he is considering various options, including very tough measures against the Tehran regime, but he has not yet made a final decision. It is known that on January 13th, a meeting of the National Security Council will be held, dedicated to the Iranian issue, where further options for action by the American military will be discussed. Trump stated that Iran faces, and I quote, a blow of unprecedented force, the likes of which they have never experienced before. I have some very powerful options for action. Nevertheless, those who criticize the Trump administration should clearly understand that, looking at the situation, Venezuela's absolute determination, which, by the way, no one realized how successful it would be until it actually happened, was constantly criticized, along with Pete Hegseth, Donald Trump, and the American military. People would say, why are you just patrolling off the coast of Venezuela? Just go ahead and strike Maduro already. But the operation was postponed. They were waiting for a favorable window, including one related to the weather and events, when Maduro would be as relaxed as possible. Originally, the operation was supposed to take place on Christmas Day from December 24th to 25th, but as we know, it actually happened in January. And yet, what happened? They carried it out brilliantly, without a single loss, accomplishing and fulfilling all the objectives of the operation. So we just have to wait. I think the American intelligence agencies and military definitely don't need our advice, and they themselves know best when the situation will be most favorable for carrying out the operation. All the more so, no one is planning any ground operations, like in the case of Venezuela. In the case of Iran, if any strikes are carried out, they will be exclusively airstrikes. At the very least, sending American special forces into Iranian territory right now would be outright suicide. There definitely won't be a repeat of the successful surprise operation that happened in Caracas. What worked once definitely won't work a second time. That's why, of course, the Americans won't make such a mistake, especially since they have the extremely unfortunate experience right in front of them when Delta Force carried out a hostage rescue operation and it all ended in chaos, basically with planes and helicopters being destroyed. Well, in general, if you're interested, read up on the history of the Delta operation, which was a special forces mission that was aborted after the victory of the Islamic Revolution. After that, the Americans no longer had any desire to attempt anything like that again. By the way, this ultimately led to the election victory of the Republican Ronald Reagan, who actively took advantage of this situation and the failures of his predecessors.